Today I want to just start off like we always do, going over some of the latest news from our hometown. First of all, I want to announce in less than 2 weeks, 2 weeks from last Friday on September 18th at noon, we're going to be doing a virtual conference on reverse publishing from WordPress to InDesign. And we've done this a couple times now. I think we did one other virtual conference, and of course today's office hours is on reverse publishing. Really, I think September is going to turn into the month of reverse publishing. I'm going to just be talking about it a lot in our newsletter, in several office hours, because we really believe that this is a huge kind of like paradigm shift for the news industry. If you could get used to this idea of doing things in reverse, your whole process could be much more efficient than it is now. Because if you think about it, what we're doing today is we're, kind of putting a round ball into a square hole or something. We've taken this process that worked for print and then just kind of thrown it up online. There's really nothing wrong with that. A lot of our customers are going to continue doing that for a long time, and that's a large part of our business. So I'm not going to talk that down. In terms of the PDF conversion to HTML, we're happy to do that as long as there's a need for that. But I think that there's a lot of publishers out there that are looking for ways to do things differently, maybe get the content online a little bit quicker. I mean, that's probably, in my mind, one of the biggest benefits is that reverse publishing turns the whole process on its head. And so your content is created on the website first, and it can be published immediately on the website. That allows you to be more real time with your readers and, just get stories out right away rather than waiting for the print edition to come out. And then what you can do at the end of the week when you go to lay out the print edition, you just take it all from the website, bulk export it to InDesign, and lay out your paper. And we're going to show you how that whole process works today. So that's a teaser a little bit for the virtual conference, but also an intro for today's office hours. Okay, also in news, we've got the NNA convention coming up at the beginning of October 1st through the 3rd. And we're really excited about this, just super proud to be part of this organization. And we're going to be doing 5 flash sessions, which is more than I ever expected to give, but I gave them a bunch of ideas for what I could talk about, and they took me up on all of them. So we're going to be doing rethinking paywalls for paid print newspapers, rethinking paywalls for free print newspapers. We did a virtual conference on that last week on Friday. We'll be doing it again with more detail. Actually, it's going to be a slightly different presentation just because it's a different format. So it will be new info. And then that afternoon on that Friday, October 2nd, we'll be doing reverse publishing from website to InDesign. You're probably starting to see a pattern here. What I did is I came up with this schedule for NNA, and then we just held our own virtual conferences on each individual topic. That was kind of just part of my strategy for preparing for the NNA. So I didn't have to do it all last minute and come up with 5 different presentations. I spaced it out over time and tested things out. And at this point, we've done all 4, except for the reverse publishing one, which is going to be in 2 weeks. So we've done 3 out of the 5 presentations already. So I'm just super excited to do these again for NNA. Another one that we did, the first one that we started out with in this series, was producing high yield content from video interviews. And that's just a really cool topic to me. It's this idea that we could be using Zoom or GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar to be producing more live content and then turn that video into multiple different forms of media. You can export it as an audio file and upload that as a podcast. You could take the video, upload it to YouTube, and then from YouTube, they have a function to export the transcript. So then you could get the text file. So that's 2 pieces of content from one. When you record these videos, every single webinar that we do is recorded. So then we're getting the live experience. That's a piece of content for your subscribers or your readers. And then you also get the video after, which is going to be part of your archives, so people can watch that video at any time. They don't necessarily need to be there in the live environment. So right there, that's really 4 pieces of content from 1 hour long interview or a half hour, however long you do it. We do our interviews with publishers, but I would say that a local newspaper could do it with a town official, a local business owner. You could use this as a way to market local businesses, just interviewing with them. And actually, that's something that the Wilson County News has started doing on Facebook Live. I'm very impressed by their consistency on that. I think it's every Thursday at noon, I want to say, or maybe it's 11. They do this Facebook Live, and they go over the news. They go through the print paper, and as a publisher, you've got so much content to talk about. I mean, it's so easy. You don't have to come up with anything. You're already producing this stuff for the print edition, so you just got to talk about it in long form on a video, and you've got a whole new channel of communication with your readers. Because people, their interests are diversifying, and I think at the end of the day, we just want to be wherever our readers are. And some readers get their information, they prefer podcasts as a way to get the news, or they prefer video. And so if we can meet them there, that's how we're going to be successful. And then the last one is talking about, this is on the Saturday session. I'm really excited about this one. We did a virtual conference on this with Tom Lapis and Cecile Werman. Cecile will be joining me for an interview in the paid paywall session, but Tom will be joining me for the donation strategy session. And he was just super innovative through the whole shutdown, really was not timid about asking for donations and coming up with creative ways to raise money for the paper and for local businesses at the same time. He's a very, very creative guy. So we'll be hearing from him and looking at what he's doing at Henrico Citizen. Okay, that was a lot there. Now let's take a look at some other news, and we'll be getting to the main topic of discussion in a minute, but I really just wanted to talk about paywalls for a second. Just coming off of all these virtual conferences, the last 2 we did were on paywalls. This is just some really, really exciting news as far as I'm concerned. When I actually started in this business about 12 years ago, it was at a time when people really didn't know what to do with the internet, how to monetize it. And a lot of people were really scared to launch a paywall. They thought that their readers would reject it and just, totally shun them online, and their traffic would plummet, and then they wouldn't be able to make money on advertising. It was all a fear-driven decision-making process. But the New York Times led the industry back in 2011. Okay, when they launched their paywall. So let me just read from this article. I think it's really well put what Jack wrote here, because we've been monitoring the New York Times and for years, but they had a huge story in August that I want to tell you about. So let's go through this. Our hometown has been closely monitoring the success of the New York Times and their ongoing shift to a digital-first platform. The effort began in earnest in 2011 with the launch of a digital paywall and has since expanded to the point where, for the first time ever, here's the headline, total digital revenue exceeded total print revenue in the second quarter of 2020. Okay, now, of course, second quarter was really the peak of the shutdown. People weren't picking up papers, so I think we'll see if this lasts, if digital continues to exceed print. I could see print coming back as things begin to open up. One of the big things that they cited in this article was that there was a huge drop in single issue sales, but the print delivery was still there because people didn't necessarily cancel their print subscription because of COVID, but they were definitely picking up less copies because they just weren't out. It's just so amazing how this whole thing has just accelerated everything. And so what I see here is that this is indicative of the future. This is where things are going, where digital is going to eventually exceed print in revenue. And, once it exceeds in revenue, I don't know the exact numbers, but you got to assume that the profit margin is going to exceed, be much better than print. I mean, think about what are the costs to produce a website. You've got to pay, the developers, the engineers, people to put up the content, but you're not printing, in this case, hundreds of thousands, millions of papers a month, so that cost just goes away. And so, this article goes into it in great detail, really well said here by Mark Thompson, the CEO. He says he has called the company's shift from print revenue to digital a key milestone in the transformation of the New York Times. Okay, so as it's said in our blog post, this is really about finding success in a digital first landscape where we're digital publishing on the web first. That's our core product, and the print is not secondary, but it's no longer the core product. The website is. And this goes back, actually, this ties in very well with today's topic, because with reverse publishing, if you're using the website to create the articles, imagine this, before the whole shutdown and a bunch of papers had to stop printing, if they had been writing their articles on the website, then they could have just stopped printing for a few weeks or a month or however long it was, and it would have had no impact on the web. But because they're so print-centric, we had papers that were still laying out their PDF edition as if they were going to print it, but then they just didn't send it to the printer because they had to cut down on those costs because the advertisers went away. Also, there was all this, people weren't touching papers. People weren't picking them up. So if they had been in a position where they were writing the stories on the website first, then they could have adjusted their model better. They made the best decision they could in the situation that they were in. Nobody saw this coming, this dramatic change in the whole newspaper business. But it's been a long-term trend. It's been coming for a long time, as long as I've been in this business, for sure.